Thank you, Wendy. You always do a great job. Welcome everyone to part 2 of our web event, Get Faster, Better and Stronger with your PM time. And today we're looking at getting faster, better, stronger in the office and on the road. Now, of course, part 1, we covered all about taking control with your daily agenda. And in that, I talked to you an awesome programming technique that will actually teach you how to become more effective and efficient with your time. But also we talked about the top 3 time management skills. Number 1 being writing everything down and writing everything into a daily to-do list. And the second skill was to put everything in priority. And the third one was focus 100% on the tasks. And we also talked about overcoming and reducing interruptions that stop us getting our work done. So part 2 today, we're going to have a lot of fun. And of course, next week, we'll be looking at part 3 as well. But before we get started, just some housekeeping with terminology today. We do have offices spread over 3 countries with us today. So we've got Australia, New Zealand, and the United States. So please be aware that we are using Australian terminology. If I know that American terminology is a little bit different, then I'll let you know. Now with spelling, we are using British spelling. Legislation, please apply everything to your legislation first. If I say something that breaches your legislation, please ignore that particular point that I've said and always choose your legislation first. Any questions, you're welcome to ask them during this session or leave them for the end. And there is a delayed response that when you ask a question in the chat room to where I see it respond and it gets back to you, it's around about a 15-second delay. So just be aware of that. And we'll, again, get recordings out to you in an emailed link within 2 full business days of today. So getting started. Firstly, I just want to let you know we have a very comprehensive webinar series available to you that covers teaching just like you're getting today, plus a number of other hot topics for property managers. And we call this PM Power Nuts and Bolts webinar series. We've actually got up to 700 attendees over 5 countries, and there are 22 webinars over 12 months, approximately every 2 weeks, and they cover all sorts of real hot topic property management subjects like dealing with conflict, better communication, effective repairs and maintenance, dealing with tradespeople, identifying the warning signs of illicit drug production. We even had a session, 12 steps to decontaminating a rental property after being contaminated from methamphetamine. Also, warning signs of a bad tenant, how to be the best property manager in town. There's lots and lots of other subjects as well. Actually, Wendy, if you can just find the nuts and bolts link to our schedule, just drop that in the chat room there. People can have a look at that. All up, there are 22 sessions. Again, currently it reaches over 5 countries, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, United States, and Canada, with up to 700 attendees. Now, we've got an offer today that if you are able to, you're an action taker, you want to be part of this, you are not going to find this offer on the website. It's just not there. You're able to access all of my nuts and bolts live seminar training that I've done previously. You can see the topics there. All up, this is worth $594. We're going to give it to you for free if you're able to subscribe through this promotion. So again, there's over 7 hours of certainly my best teaching. Really enjoyed delivering these seminars. You can see the topics there. That last one, all on stress management, survive, thrive, and avoid the mental asylum. Now, when you go to the website, using the link that Wendy's given you, or you simply go to darrenhunter.com, go in the main menu to webinars/training, and you will then be able to go into our nuts and bolts webinar session. And then when you go to the purchase page, you're going to be asked to use a code. Put in PM time as your code. That lets us know that you're subscribing to this deal that I've just promoted to you, and you'll get the $594 worth of value with an MP3 download. Okay, so enough of that. Now, I just want to now shift to one of our sponsors in today's event, which is EBM Landlord Insurance. And like any agency, you need to make sure that you have quality landlord insurance. Now, before I bring into the session Carly Halliday, who is the EBM National Relationship Manager, I just want to say something to you. When you're signing up new owners, don't ever think that just because they have landlord insurance, whether they've sourced it through a bank or whether they've, even worse, they've sourced it through a supermarket chain or some type of supermarket. If your landlords have sourced insurance that way, please never assume they have quality cover, because it unpacks in all sorts of areas. You need to make sure that your owners have quality landlord insurance, particularly when most claims are to do with rent default. You need to make sure that they can get a quality rent default claim and also not going to get stung by huge excesses. That's one way that this sort of thing or this cover unpacks. And if an owner is not properly covered, or in fact is not covered at all, where a quality landlord insurance could have done it, you could find all sorts of backlash from the owner later on, because he's now looking to recover his loss another way. You never want to get yourself into that situation. So, Carly, a big hello to you. How are you going?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me, Darren.
No problem, and thanks for coming in. So, how important is it, and from your experience, for property managers to have quality landlord insurance instead of having their owners, on a bank sourced or a supermarket source policy?
Well, look, it is so important. The majority of the conversations that myself and also other staff here at EBM are having with property managers is constantly dominated by those products that are out there in the market that lead landlords to believe that they have comprehensive cover. And I mean, as property managers, you guys are all too aware of what sort of risks a landlord may face from their tenant. There's an often misconception about the fact that a property manager can actually stop all of these things from occurring, which, as I'm sure you all know and agree, is not the case. There are things that are 100% outside of your control. And we're hearing constant horror stories about those inferior products being taken up by landlords, and they're unfortunately learning the hard way about them not providing the coverage that they need.
Yep, well done. And I know you guys are on the forefront of new advances with landlord insurance, and it's always evolving into something better, going into new areas. One of those that sort of impressed me is your pet cover. Now, 25 years ago in property management, people used to have dogs and cats. Well, now they have fur babies. And, there's more and more pressure in the market. We're seeing, discussion in South Australia and Victoria where owners maybe, possibly with legislation changes, not allowed to unreasonably say no to pets at properties. Who knows where that legislation is going to occur? So, Carly, can you just help us with what type of pet cover that EBM does now have for landlords?
Yeah, no problem. Look, as you've said, there's so much commentary in the market at the moment around pets in rental properties. And we, in February this year, introduced $65,000 worth of coverage for pet-related damage to our landlord range of products. So what that actually covers, there's no, sort of scary exclusion or inclusion processes. It's as simple as if the pet is owned by the tenant and that pet causes damage to the property that the tenant's liable for, then the policy will respond. The only requirements we have in the policy is that you're completing regular inspections. So we're not asking anything outside of the norm. And we're really hoping that that's going to be a mechanism for landlords to be a little bit more confident in allowing pets in the property. What's actually quite interesting is since we've had this cover in February, we've actually not received any claims for pet damage to this point. So
Wow, that's
whether
very
or not,
good.
I know it's a good thing, but we don't actually see as much damage, but I know a lot of property managers have seen that. And look, we're really pleased to bring a level of cover that we think is more than comprehensive in the market, and hopefully to take that stress off a landlord's mind and really open up that tenant pool for your property managers and leasing consultants, because just owning a pet often becomes a contributing factor to a tenant not being able to find a suitable place to live.
Yeah. Well, Carly, next let's discuss drugs. We've got a real issue in Australia. I just watched a current affair last night and learnt that up to places like Western Australia, South Australia have up to 1.5% of the population using ice. Now, we know that ice is a real scourge across our country now, and of course these people are using ice and it's being produced by methamphetamine laboratories. And guys, we can only do our best to avoid these type of situations. I think even the best of us can get caught where a tenant does have a meth lab. And of course, when a property's got a meth lab, the police come in, they bust the situation, they shut the place down. They will likely, no doubt, say the property is contaminated, which means a property manager can't step onto the property. The owner can't step in. No, it can't be rented out. It is off limits, and now it have to go through a decontamination process. And I've seen, costs 30, 40, 50, 60, $70,000 where the whole property has to be stripped right back to a shell with a special cleaning process, specialized chemicals used, and then re-renovation to occur, which can become very, very expensive. And I think, Carly, we can agree this is where the owner having the right policy or not having the right policy can become really prevalent. So, Carly, if one of our people listening today do have EBM landlord insurance and do unfortunately have an event where a methamphetamine laboratory has been found on a property and the property is contaminated, what sort of cover can we expect with EBM landlord insurance?
So again, the coverage is all the way up to $65,000 for cleanup and decontamination of the property. In line with that, there's also loss of rent during the process. So the figures that you've mentioned there in terms of those losses, they're completely realistic. They are things that we see day in, day out. We're seeing meth lab claims hitting around that average of, $40,000 to $45,000 per claim, and taking weeks and weeks and weeks to rectify. And it is because of the extent of the cleaning required. So during that process, not only is there rectification works required to the actual structure in the building, but you're not receiving rent during that time. So the policy will actually respond to that as well. And the point you made around other insurers and some other products that are out there on the market, we're actually hearing really frequently that people are having these sort of drug lab claims declined because there's exclusions in the policies around illegal use of the property. And obviously a drug lab in a property would be seen as the illegal use of the property, or that contamination as a general clause is actually excluded. So they're probably just the two things that I think property managers can be providing to their landlords, and give them those sort of tips for things to look out for to make sure they are having coverage that's going to cover that extensively.
Yeah, and I'm just going to make a last comment. Anyone listening to this session, you cannot afford to not have your owners on quality landlord insurance in the day and age of ice and methamphetamine addiction. So, look, just moving on now. On the screen here, Carly, we've got an offer here. Did you want to let us know about that?
Yeah, thanks, Darren. So something we hear quite regularly is, especially for first-time investors, they've bought a new investment property and they really do feel like that money's sort of going out the door. So anyone that's listening today, if you do have any insurance policies you would like to place or pass on to your landlords, we're actually willing to offer them today 60 days free insurance. So that can bring down the premiums of our Ultra and Platinum policy on all new business and new policies that come out of today's session. So in terms of getting a quote, you're most welcome to contact us, or if anyone that currently uses our products, they can speak to their relationship manager who can also help them out as well from that point of view. But it's a great way to start that conversation with your landlords about insurance and provide them with a little bit of relief from the premium side of things.
All right, Carly. Well, thank you very much. We will get on to now our session for today, and wonderful contribution to, again, please make sure you've got quality landlord insurance. And of course, EBM landlord insurance is certainly one of the strongest companies and policies there for property managers in the country. Let's move on. So with today's session, let's get started. And we're going to first look at 10 critical keys to controlling your appointments and giving you total confidence. Let's talk about appointment control, because either you're in control or someone else is in control of you. If you're in control, you feel great. That is good mental health, because when you feel in control, that means you are not stressed. But when someone else or something else is in control of you and your agenda, that gives you a feeling of out of control. And that is an immense source of stress, and that leads to burnout, disillusionment, and the end result of that, of course, is resignation as a property manager. So when it comes to taking control You need to establish an appointment culture. Now, you and I know we have owners coming into the office, tenants coming into the office, unannounced, without an appointment. If you're off the phone, that means you're available. And of course, we're in reactive mode. Always, when you're signing up owners, you're signing up tenants, make very, very clear up front that you are available, but by appointment only. Have a polite professional sign at the counter reaffirming that. If people do come in without an appointment, attend to them, but let them know next time they must make an appointment. Now, you might think, well, my owners and my tenants, they'll never make an appointment, but that same owner or same tenant will go down the road and they'll go to the salon where they're getting their hair done. They'll make an appointment there. They'll make an appointment at the doctor's surgery. They'll make an appointment to go and see their accountant or lawyer. So they can do that. It just comes down to what expectations and culture you are setting. Also, you set the day and time. So, for example, you might get a person, that calls up. You're talking to them. You let them know when you're ready. When you're available to see them. You might say, well, we're not actually available today, but this is when we're available. Also, give a day and a date. So this came out of one day when I was visiting a routine inspection. I knocked on the door. The tenant opened the door and said, Darren, what are you doing here today? I thought it was tomorrow. And I said, look, have you got your letter handy? So she went back. Of course, it was probably on the fridge. She got it off the fridge, took the letter back to the door and said, oh, sorry, Darren, it is today. I really apologize. Look, the place is a pigsty. I'm sorry you can't come in. Can you come back another time? And I'm never going to force my way into that situation. Of course, I respect my tenants. But what I was doing then, I was only giving a date, so 26th of May or whatever. So I'd now say I'll be at the property Thursday, the 26th of May, giving a day and a date, so people aren't then getting mixed up and just getting misinformed with that. Also, I have back-to-back appointments, and that ties in with point 2, that if you have someone call up and say, hey, look, can I see you an hour's time? Just because you haven't got appointments in your diary, or it doesn't mean you have to be available. Take control. Whose agenda is it? Is it your agenda or someone else's? So feel free to say, look, I'm sorry, I'm not available at that time. I have back-to-back appointments, and no reasonable person is going to argue with that statement. And I will be available tomorrow at 10:30. Would that suit you? Again, covering point 2 there. Okay, so, and you'll find 95% of people in that situation will, 1, respect that you're busy, and 2, will likely be available at the day and the time that you nominate, not necessarily you having to then abide by the day and time that they've nominated to you. Okay, take control. Also, this was useful to me. I need to go. I'm racing the clock. This is one of my favorite statements. Boy, I was always go, go, go as a property manager, just like you. And so you're at a routine inspection, the tenant's getting a bit chatty, all of that stuff. Well, that's nice, but that's taking away my time with everything else that I need to do today. So how I got myself out of that type of situation, hey, look, thanks, but I do need to go. I'm racing the clock. And that always seemed to be a fair statement to get me out of a situation like that. So I'm not being rude and abrupt, and I can keep on going, and it's a statement that the tenant would understand. Something like that may work for you as well. Also, always confirm the appointment in writing. If you've now made an appointment, just confirm the appointment in writing, or actually send them a calendar appointment from your diary. Always confirm it in writing. Otherwise, you might be at risk of the person just hasn't written down the details. You'll turn up to the appointment. They're not there. You've wasted a lot of time. Also, confirm just before the appointment as well, maybe by SMS or a quick phone call, just to confirm that they're going to be there, so you're not driving 15, 20 minutes or anything like that unnecessarily, which could, once you're there waiting for them, realize they haven't shown up, drive back to the office. That is 1 hour. 1 hour is a lifetime in the day of a property manager. So always confirm just before the appointment. In your appointment, in your diary, include their contact details, of course, because if you're late, running late, or you're trying to find out where they are, you can then just press that little button, click the mobile number, comes up, and call them straight away and find out where they're at, or send them an SMS. Now, phone tag. I think this is a scourge in modern living. I personally hate phone tag. I hate playing it, and I really resent having to call anybody because I know that I'm going to get their message bank unless I've actually made a phone appointment first. So I always like to make a phone appointment, and I find 95% of the time, once I've liaised a time with them, and I always, 95% of the time, when I make the call at that time, they are there waiting because we've made a formal time to chat on the phone. Now, also another tool that really helps me in making a phone appointment is called calendly.com, and it's a very low cost diary system that allows you to send them a link where they click on a link. So let's just say I'm sending them an appointment. Hi, I just want to make a phone appointment if we can to chat. Here is my diary link, and I drop in the link where you can actually make a time that suits you. And so I've nominated in Calendly all of the times during the day where I'm available for a 15-minute or a 30-minute phone appointment, the days of the week, and the times where I've made that available in my diary. It syncs up with my Google Diary. So if I've got other appointments in that time, those spaces now become unavailable. And then suddenly I'm getting people booking in. I'm getting an email sent to me with their name, their phone number, what they want to discuss. It also drops into my diary. It also sends me a reminder before, sends them a reminder before, all done automatically, and it works beautifully. Okay, so for modern property management, modern communication, check out calendly.com, and I'm sure it's going to work well for you too. Let's move on and let's talk about keeping your workspace organized. And I was actually on the Gold Coast in the last couple of days doing the National Professionals Conference, doing this session. And it's funny, like all sessions, when I talk about keeping your workspace organized, there's always a few giggles and chatter in the room because there's people there that don't have tidy desks. Let's talk about that. You know, one of the things I believe is that your visual periphery, and my visual periphery, if I extend my arms out on either side of me in a 180, like I've got wings, I can see in my visual periphery, I can actually see both my hands. So I have a visual periphery that goes 180 degrees, like most people. And see, whatever is in my visual periphery, if it's doesn't look organized, it can tend to impact on your brain. You see, if your desk is chaotic, then it can actually reflect on your thought patterns as well and make them possibly chaotic. It's a little bit like what you see as clutter. It also becomes clutter in your thinking and on your brain. And clutter causes stress and gives you a feeling of being out of control. So there's a good reason for you to think about, can you, or why not change your habits to get organized and make sure that your desk is looking good and organized. So here are some points. Of course, keep your desk clear. Now, also get rid of business cards. People like to collect business cards, pile them up on their desk. Hey, put them into your contacts and just get rid of those things. Also, be careful not to overuse Post-it notes. You see, Post-it notes, I think, are good for quickly writing down information. But just like we taught in part 1, then quickly write that information into your one source, whether it's a notebook, whether it's the app, or whatever system that you're using. Don't make Post-it notes have too much of a lifespan, because sticking those Post-it notes up around the place or whatever, they curl up, they drop off, they go on the floor, the cleaner picks them up at night, puts them in the trash, and now you've lost that information. Not a good way to organize your tasks or keep you reminded. Now, don't forget you got Siri as well. So you can open up, if you've got an iPhone, you can say, hi Siri, can you remind me tomorrow to do such and such? And it'll put it into reminder system. So, you know, if you're using Post-it notes for all of that sort of thing, perhaps just use Siri as well. But keep use of Post-it notes down to a minimum. Make sure that all your paper has a folder or a place to go. Don't use the horizontal part of your desk there, as a storage place for your paper. File it in proper folders. Don't have a filing system all over your desk. The problem is, by having pieces of paper all over the place, they get these little eyes. They're all looking at you in your visual periphery, and they're going, me next, me next, me next. It gives you a sense of out of control. There's that stress thing again. So having things all organized so you can just focus on that one task at a time, and you're not having these other bits of paper and stuff everywhere distracting you away from what you're focusing on at the moment. Alrighty, don't be a shredder. What that means is, yes, we are dealing with sensitive paperwork regularly, but don't you be the one that goes and shreds it, because it's simply a bad use of your time. Make sure it goes into a commercial shredding bin where a commercial shredder can shred it and destroy it properly by the kilo. But don't you be shredding. That's a real waste of your time as an expensive property manager when you've got better things to do. Also, get a big bin, or for the Americans, get a big trash can. I can't stand property managers having a bin the size of a Coke can. I think you need to be in a place where you can quickly dump stuff, as long as it's not sensitive, of course. Get rid of it, get it into the bin, get it off your desk, okay? So you're flying clean and your work environment is not chaotic. But touch paper only once. Do it, delegate it, file it, or shred it, but only touch paper once. Don't just shuffle it to another part of your desk and then touch it another time and just move things around like it's a chess game. Touch paper only once. Clean out the crap. Open your drawers. Now, when I said that in Texas a few years ago doing this session, I had people laughing at me. I know it sounds funny, but open your drawers, have a look. Services, what sort of junk have you got? As property managers, we have this wonderful habit of bringing and dragging things back, dragging things, these wonderful little treasures that we've picked up at rental properties with tap parts and tile samples and old curtains and netting and all this sort of stuff, and we just pile them up. Just get rid of it if it doesn't need to be there. Also, keep your to-do list within sight. In session 1, we talked about your daily task manager. Make sure it's always in your sight, where every time you look at that and go, okay, what's next on my task list? You are setting your GPS. If you're not regularly looking at your to-do list, then every interruption, everything is going to be like the tide and the wind and the waves, and it's going to push you off course, interruption by interruption, and take you off your intended course for the day. Have your to-do list there so you can keep on referring to it and stay on track, stay on task, stay on your intended flight path for today. Now, also, keep your tools within easy reach. Make sure that your mobile phone is there. Other things, your tools, whatever you need, it's there within easy reach, so you're not spending time looking for stuff. Because when you're spending time looking for stuff, that really, really eats into your day. And I don't care what reason a person has for a messy desk. You are spending more time looking for stuff than another person that has a really neat desk. It's all about no time looking for stuff. You know where it is first time, so you don't have to think. That's why we've got to be organized. Alrighty, let's talk about becoming more effective with out of office appointments. So, number 1, get your work done in the car. You see, every time you step out of the office, there's more work piling up for you when you get back. Phone calls, or someone's coming to see you, or whatever. And don't add to that pile that's piling up in your absence. If you can get it done in the car, do it in the car. I remember in the days of carbonized pads for routine inspections, I would make sure that my triple sheet was sorted, the copy that goes to the owner, a copy that goes into the file or whatever. I'd then sort out my repair request forms into a separate folder. I have little pockets where I put all this stuff. So by the time I get back to the office, after each inspection, I keep them organized. When I got back to the office, then there was no work whatsoever in sorting out my paperwork if I could get it done in the car. Also, carry a car kit. Now, we'll talk a little bit later about all the possible things that you can carry in a car kit. We've got a whole part of today based on that. But here is my point. There's a lot of property managers out there that say, well, I'm not a cleaner. Why should I carry cleaning gear? And here is my point. If you're doing a final inspection and you've got a bathroom mirror and a bathroom basin top and a bathroom basin dirty, so they're not big jobs, they're little jobs, you've got 3 choices. Choice number 1, you ignore it, But you and I know that's not a good choice, because now you've got a new tenant moving in with dirty items. They will notice it, they will be upset, and you could possibly have conflict. So ignoring it, not a good choice. Number two is you can say, well, I'm a property manager, I'm not a cleaner. Well, now you've got all this crazy level of work, going back to the office, calling the owner, calling the tenant, organising tradespeople. What a waste. Third option, have some basic cleaning gear. Go in, it'll take a couple of minutes to do it yourself, and the job is done. Under that context that I've just explained, doing it yourself is the very, very best thing from a time management thing to do. Of course, if it's half an hour's worth of cleaning or an hour, well, that's not your problem. Then you do have to go and get a cleaner or get the tenant back or whatever is relevant to the situation. But the car kit is there to do little things so you can just get it done on site and move on. Okay, moving on now. Also, have all of your forms with you. So for me, I would have center pay forms. If I came across a tenant that's struggling with rent and having already got them on center pay because they're on Centrelink benefits, which is government benefits, I will then give them that form that allows us to then, the government then to send the payment directly to us, bypasses the tenant. That's the system we have here in Australia. Also, it could be an application form, an application processing form, or something that I could give on the road without having to go back to the office and have another job to place it into an envelope or whatever we do from there. Okay, saving more work back to the office if I can just get it done now. Now, doing the little things around the big things. So when we're out on the road, we've always got little things and big things. So big things are our set appointments. It could be a file inspection, it could be a show through or something like that. But also we've got little things to do. It could be cutting a key, it could be taking a photo, it could be door knocking to see if a tenant's home or whatever. And I would list all my little things around my appointments on a page. And I would then geographically work out what's the first thing I can do, second thing, third thing, and then the fourth thing might actually be that set appointment in itself. And then I might go and do a photo or something after that, get a key cut. And I remember managing a rent roll 30 minutes drive away from the office, and I would have up to 25 things listed on a piece of paper that I needed to do when I was in that town. I got so much done by that method of listing out all the little and big things that I needed to do, and I made sure that every little thing was done, because people, if you miss that little thing, that turns into a big thing later on and becomes a real problem. Okay, the little things are just as important to tie as like they are with the big things. Okay, don't overload your routine inspection agenda. What that means is that, for example, I personally worked in South Australian legislation. And in South Australia, back then, as it is today, you can't give anything more than a 2-hour period that you're going to be at the property. So, for example, on your letter, Mr. Tenant will be there between 9 and 11 or 11 or 1 or 1 or 3 or whatever. And I would then, in that 2-hour period with family homes, 3 or 4 bedroom family homes, I wouldn't do anything more than 5 in a 2-hour period, because I personally don't like to rush. But don't load it so that come to the end of that 2 hours or 3 hours, you still got more to go. You've got to allow for the unexpected. Don't rush. Now, if you're doing apartments or America, you've got condos or whatever, you work out what you can comfortably do in that time period, but don't rush it. You've got to stop and be able to look carefully, do a thorough inspection. Rushing just causes issues and conflict with things that are missed. Okay, also take a video if it's complicated. You see, sometimes photos aren't good enough to record a particular situation to communicate it to the owner. A long email, well, hey, a lot of people just don't read long emails these days. Everyone's just too time poor. A phone call sometimes can't get an accurate picture into the owner's mind of the situation. Sometimes a video needs to be taken. You've got one on your phone, take a video. If you know how to use Facebook, well, now you know how to use YouTube. Make sure the app's on your phone, load it up to YouTube. Make sure it's set to an unlisted setting, because you got public, you got unlisted, and then private. Private's where you actually need a Gmail address to send it to a person. They need to open it using that Gmail address. But unlisted simply means as long as they've got the link, the URL, that person can watch the video, because it cannot be found publicly through the front end of your channel. So check out YouTube, unlisted links, and post the video to there. and you'll find you're going to be able to communicate difficult issues a lot better when the owner can see and experience the issue as you have recorded it. Also, get your final inspection done before the tenant or owner arrives. I remember doing a final inspection, tenants arriving at 10. Well, I might arrive at 9, get all my inspection done. By the time the tenant arrives, I'm simply then pointing out the issues I want them attending to. They don't need to be seeing me checking off all the things that are not a problem. Save on time, because if you've got an owner or a tenant there at an inspection, you and I know what's going on. It's all chit chat. Okay, and then that can really blow out your time. Also, record things quickly. Have your notebook with you. Write things down. If you're doing a routine inspection, don't allow critical information just to remain only in the inspection. If it's a repair, write it down in your notebook or whatever app you're using as well. But record things quickly so it's not remembered, it's recorded somewhere. Now, resist taking the call. This is a little bit controversial, but if you're taking a phone call on the road from an owner, well, are you now also in a position to file note that phone call as well? Or are we running the risk of talking to the owner and there be no record in the system later on when there's conflict, and you know you spoke to that owner, but there's nothing there for any record to go back on? So there's a lot of offices now not giving out their mobile number, so they're not getting these calls. They're sorting them out in the office, and they're in a workstation place where they can, in their notes and conversation diary, in their system, whether it's using REST or Property Tree or whatever, it can be properly tracked and recorded. Now, don't leave the office for small things. You see, if you've got rental properties that are within 10 minutes drive of the office, there's a danger. You'll likely get in your car and go and get a key card, and only a key card, just for the sake of getting out of the office and wasting your time. Only go out of the office for a series of things. Plan it up front. Treat your properties like they're all over 30 minutes drive away. Okay, and now you're going to be very careful about what you go out of the office for. Here is the rule: maximum time in office, minimal time out of the office. Don't blow your time being too long on the road. Don't go out for the small things. Now, also time block your out of office appointments. So for me, I would only be out of the office from Monday from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, or Tuesday morning or Wednesday afternoon, and so forth, and only do my inspections and out of road stuff in those time blocks. If I had someone call on Monday morning saying, Darren, can you come and see me in an hour's time? Well, thank you. Unfortunately, I have back-to-back appointments. However, I will be in your area at 3 o'clock today. Does that suit you? And 95% of the time, I got a yes. Remember, who's in control? If you're in control, you feel great, you feel confident, and that gives you a sense of satisfaction in the job when you're confident. If someone else is in control of your agenda, that gives you a sense of out of control. It's chaos, it causes stress, leads to burnout, disillusionment, and the final result where it all unpacks is you leaving the industry. Okay, be the one that's in control. Okay, let's stay more productive on the phone. Here's some tips. Avoid phone tag. Again, we talked before, ask for the phone appointment. Now, push the appointment to phone where you can. You might have a person call you up and say, hey, look, if you're in the area this afternoon, come and see me. Don't just say, okay, and then go and see them. It could be something that could have been sorted out on the phone. So do people actually have to see you? Can you do it on the phone? Can you do it by Skype where you can see them? Don't go and waste your time traveling around getting to stuff when it could be done really quickly, really efficiently on the phone or in a program like Skype or Google Hangouts or something like that. So again, use Skype if required. Use an online diary to allow self-book appointments. We talked about Calendly.com. Batch your calls into one time block. So do all your phone calls in the same time period. Now, you may not be able to get hold of everybody, but like a factory where you're doing all your tasks in the same time block, one after another, you're going to get so much more speed and so much more efficiency when you do it that way instead of just spreading them out through the day. Also, EverContact is a great little piece of software. Now, I use the Google Calendar system, and EverContact is a Chrome extension where when an email comes in, ever contact goes in, it scans through the email, looks at the contact details, and provided it's not sitting in an image, it will scan that, take their phone number, take their address, take their name, and then automatically load it into my Google contacts. And now it's automatically being placed there. And they could call me 10 minutes later on my phone, their number's going to come up because my phone contact syncs with my Google contacts. And that's how it all works. Forever Contact, very affordable. Check it out. Also, keep control using your message bank. If you're in uninterrupted time, then allow your message bank to take control of the phone calls coming in. You could have a call like, "Hi, Darren Hunter here. Today is Wednesday, the 18th of October, and unfortunately, I will be unavailable right up to 1 o'clock. However, leave a message and your name, and I'll give you a call back definitely before 5 o'clock today. But if it's an emergency, then call this number." Take control using your message bank. Don't just have, "Hi, Darren here. I'm away from my desk at the moment. Leave a message." Boring. That doesn't take control. It just causes annoyance, and someone will just hang up and then try another number and try and hunt you down. Okay, let's now talk about staying more productive using emails. So eliminate, when you're looking at your email list of all that's in your inbox, eliminate your spam and junk first. Just shoot it all down. You'll find a lot of your email is likely spam or junk. Now, if you've got some stuff you need to read, maybe put it into a folder and look at it later, or unsubscribe from what you don't need. Or the others, tag or place emails into a folder to access later. Also, if you're typing an email and that type of email can be turned into a template or a canned response like in Google or Gmail, then make sure you save that and use it for another time. So all anyone has to do is just go in and tailor it, tinker with it, and send it out. You're not doing all the work again of sending that or typing out that same email. Use email templates. Also, avoid email ping pong. What that means is you get an email from someone, you reply, they reply back to you, you reply back to them, and it's just to and fro, to and fro. Stop it. Pick up the phone, diffuse a situation, and a phone call will save 1,000 words by email. Okay? Email is good for certain communication. Text is good for only certain type of communication. Make sure you choose the right communication platform to get the job done, get the task finished. Alrighty, now also you might get a detailed email where there's several different things the owner wants you to reply on. I then go, "Hi, Mr. Owner, thanks for your email, please see below." Then I go into their email and I reply directly into the paragraphs, and between the paragraphs of their email, they can clearly see what I've typed, and I simply answer the questions that they have in that, send that to them instead of just sending a big, long email, which could actually miss 1 or 2 points they wanted you to address. Also, clean out your emails every day for any buried issues. You see, we're all busy. We're getting a ton of stuff coming at us. Go over yesterday's emails every day just to make sure there wasn't an email that was missed. I call them buried issues because we've got so many new emails coming in like snow. They can get buried. Go and look for those emails to make sure that nothing has been overlooked. Also, remove instant expectations by using autoresponders. Alrighty, so here are some texts that could possibly help you. Now understand, every time an owner or a tenant sends you an email, if they've got no expectations back, their expectation reigns. Their expectation rules. And if they think you should have got back to them within a couple of hours, despite the fact that you're on the road managing property, now we've got conflicted issues. So why not consider having a autoresponder on full time with words like, for example, thank you for your email. The job of property management keeps us busy on the road doing inspections, also dealing with emergencies. So we're not able to return your email in the time frame that we would like. However, please know that we will return your email usually within 24 hours, or otherwise, if it's an urgent matter, please call this number now. And so for me as a busy person, if I got greeted with an autoresponder with that information, I think that person's busy. I respect them. Thank you for letting me know the gameplay. And now I've moved my expectations to their expectations. They've told me the agenda. Now I'm working within that agenda. Take control by using a full-time autoresponder. I'm sure that tip's really going to help you. Okay, so what I want to do now, let's have a look at 70 plus different things that you may be able to carry in your property management car kit. So guys, I've just got to do a little bit of adjustment. I've got to take it off sharing just on this screen here, taking off so you can actually share my entire desktop. So just bear with me, and I'm just going to set that up now. So let's have now you've got the infinity effect going. Let's just go over to our knowledge library. You should be able to see that all fine now. Just be aware, we've got a ton of resources available to you right now. Let me just give you a quick tour. In our knowledge library here, we've got property manager resources and manager or boss resources as well. And in our property manager resources, I think we've got, 100, 200 articles in there. It's taken me 10 years to write these things. They're all available to you. So for example, if we go to time and stress management here, we just click on that. That'll take us to a whole heap of different articles that can help you. Have a read of them. As you can see, different topics here. I haven't got time to go through them there. Also some things that we've already covered today, but let's have a look here. So, for example, 70 plus things that you can carry in your property management car kit. Let's have a look at this article. Now, it's funny because when I placed this article into social media, my goodness me, the near abuse that I get. People think I'm suggesting you've got to carry all of this stuff with you. Hey, we might as well go and buy ourselves a van to put all this stuff in. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying to you is that these are different things that you can carry with you, cherry pick out of what might be useful to you. Now, I'm not going to read all of these things out because you can go and see it for yourself. But for example, with cleaning products, there are some suggested different things that you can carry with you. And this was a competition that we did with property managers where they made all these different suggestions. But for me, for example, with cleaning products, I had my dustpan, I had my brush, I had my cleaning cloth, my chucks, I had a bucket, had some disinfectant, I had spray and wipe as well. Of course, spray and wipe window cleaner was very effective. Also tools, I did actually carry a step ladder. Lock boxes are usually not something that's common here in Australia, very common, of course, in the United States. I actually had a chain cutter or a lock cutter because I used to manage storage sheds, and storage sheds didn't have the legislation of property management. So if the tenant wasn't paying their rent, well, my lock cutter quickly removed their padlock. I was able to do that legally, of course. But there's also other things in there. A tape measure. I mean, how useful is a tape measure? You're measuring the space, the fridge space or the washing machine space. Someone's going to ask you that question at some stage. Make sure that you've taken measurements when you need to. Also, with repairs, quick repairs, graphite powder. What was that good for? Of course, if a lock was seizing up, graphite powder was good for that. Or WD-40 was good for those hinges. All those little things that these things come in handy time to time. For me, I did carry a plunger. A plunger, if I come across a basin that's blocked, it takes me 2 seconds to get my plunger out. I'll give it a go. And a lot of cases, I was able to free it up, let the owner know that I just saved them $100 on a plumber, and it was fixed. But that's up to you. That's what I did. There were just, again, some more things that I used to carry with me. With personal care, hand wipes or baby wipes, property managers talk about all the time as real handy things to have with them when they're doing cleaning. Insect repellent, sometimes they're doing an ingoing inspection, property's been vacant, locked up for 7 days, there might be a few mosquitoes or something or flies in the property that I could deal with my insect repellent. Hand sanitizer, well, you only have to do a final inspection if you're not washing your hands, making sure you're sanitizing your hands, especially if you're also about to eat in the car or something like that. Hand towel and soap, of course, doing a final inspection of putting my hands through cupboards, through ovens. They're getting all sorts of things on them. I want to be able to wash my hands afterwards as well. So umbrella. You get caught in the rain, it might be a rain shower or something like that, an inspection. You got all those things there with you. Now, toilet paper. Do I need to get into why you need toilet paper? Yeah, these are the sort of things you should be carrying with you. I did have spare batteries, and I would on-charge them to owners. Light globes, I would on-charge them to owners if I need to put in some light globes. Trash bags, for any trash that you come across or rubbish. Also, key rings and key tags. I used to carry those things. You might need a permanent marker. I used to put on the key tag, for rent signs or whatever. Okay, guys, these are just things that you can cherry pick out of that are going to help you in your job to have things in your car so you're saving on time. So, guys, I'm all done. I might just take my screen sharing off when if there's any questions that people have, I'm happy to answer those. But otherwise, Wendy, over to you.